Is it? Are we live? Can't seem to see it. Welcome, everyone. This is the March 3rd, 2026 Civic Design Review meeting of the Philadelphia City Planning Commission. My name is Mina Monavarian with the Art and Design Division of the Department of Planning and Development. This is a hybrid meeting with both in-person and remote participation options. For your information, this meeting is being recorded, and by participating in the meeting, you are giving your consent to be recorded. A link to the recording will be posted on the Philadelphia City Planning Commission website. The agenda and meeting materials can also be found on the website. The website can be found by going to the public meetings webpage of the Philadelphia City Planning Commission. Please use the QR code on the screen to access the webpage. Your safety is our priority. We are currently in room 18-029. In an emergency, please listen to announcements on the loudspeaker, which will provide safety information. If you do not hear an announcement, please follow the directions of the security officer and city planning staff. There are two doors along the sidewall to your left. These doors lead to the elevator lobby. If an order is given to evacuate this room, the nearest stairway is to your right once you reach the lobby. Follow the exit signs to reach the stairway. If an order is given to evacuate the building, the rally point is at Love Park. Please remain at the rally point so we can all account for you. And restrooms are in the lobby across from the elevators. The Civic Design Review Committee is a subcommittee of the Philadelphia City Planning Commission website, and is charged with assessing the design of the public realm of proposed building projects in Philadelphia and how they impact their neighborhoods. CDR is an advisory process. However, applicants are encouraged to accept the results of the review and incorporate the committee's findings into their design. The Civic Design Review Committee encourages and values participation during its meetings. Members of the public, you will have the opportunity to comment on agenda items during the public comment period. Questions and comments will be heard during this period, which will be open and closed by the CDR committee chairperson. Public comments should focus on the design-related issues only. When addressing the committee, please speak clearly and identify yourself by name and, if applicable, affiliation. A 2-minute time limit for public comments will be enforced by the committee chair and the meeting host. If virtual, please use the raise hand function in the Zoom application and wait to be unmuted by the meeting host. If you are joining by Zoom phone, you may use the raise hand feature by dialing *9 during the virtual public comment period. Staff will unmute phone users. Please note that Q&A is only for procedural questions. We ask that you avoid writing your questions and comments about the project using this function. Planning Commission staff can also receive comments by email. If you would like to submit an email, please send to cdr@phila.gov. First reviews will start with an applicant's design professional presentation, limited to 10 minutes, followed by PCPC staff summary. Second reviews will start with PCPC staff analysis before applicant's design professional presentation, limited to 5 minutes. Staff analysis will be based on the requirements of the zoning code and Planning Commission regulations, which will focus on site design, building design, parking design, sustainable design, and if applicable, public open space design. Public comment will follow. Please do not restate the comments of your neighbors. Comments submitted in advance via email have been given to the committee and do not need to be read aloud. CDR committee discussion will follow the public comment period. Up to 2 affected RCOs may join the committee for the duration of their cases. Additional RCOs may participate as members of the public. After the discussion, staff will present notes taken during the meeting. The staff notes are for summary purposes only and not a word-for-word record of the conversation. The CDR committee will vote to adopt the staff notes by unanimous consent and will be voting by roll call on whether or not a project needs to return. For roll call vote, I will ask commissioners for their votes individually at the end of each agenda item. The chair will now call the meeting to order and announce the quorum. Do you want to try?
Try that. Thank you, Mina. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. I am CDR Chair Jimena Vale. The Department of Licenses and Inspections has informed the City of Planning Commission of one case being heard for the first time. Cases may be heard more than one time. The committee may ask an applicant to return if, after discussion, significant issues are left unresolved. Committee members, I'm going to call roll. Please respond by stating present. Sarah Eisheimer,
Present.
Clarissa Redding,
Hello, present.
Michael Spain,
Present.
Maria Sauerbier,
Present.
Dan Garofalo,
Present.
and we don't have Octavia today.
But we do have an RCO representative for the first case, Hillary Langer.
Okay. Thank you. Welcome. Okay, and if we can have the presenter come up, the first case is 4401 Ridge Avenue.
It's all right.
Use these arrows to move the slide presentation forward.
Yeah, these, you know how to use the arrows, right, when you come up?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Richard DeMarco. I'm an attorney with Zarwin Baum. I'm the zoning attorney on this matter. To thank you for hearing us today. I'll be really brief. We do need one variance for this matter. We did believe that we would have been able to have an over-the-counter as of right project, but we had Eric and Lance, who are with me, who will come up in a moment, had many meetings with the streets department, and the requirements of the streets department rendered that impractical to try to do it as a matter of right. So we need a single variance for steep slope impact, and that is all. The rest of the project is fully compliant with the CMX3 zoning classification. We do have a hearing in front of the zoning board on March 25th. Obviously, we're hoping to get through this as quickly as possible, but Eric is the main developer representative, and we have Eric Marshall, that is, and we have Lance Saunders from the architectural firm. So I'll introduce, I guess, Eric first. Is that okay? And then hopefully we can get through this as soon as we can. So thank you so much.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for taking the time to meet with us. So I'll be presenting for 4401 Ridge Avenue. I'll give a quick, background and briefing on it, and then I'll let Lance from Stokes Architecture, the design architect, explain a lot of the features and looks and feels of it. This is a project that is getting a second life, so to speak. It was previously presented at a prior CDR, and it didn't come to fruition. And we've now stepped into this project. It's a different design that was there previously, but we did take into account a lot of features and aspects of the previous design that we thought we could improve on and make work better with the community. We've worked closely with the East Falls Civic Group. We've met with the zoning committee. We did have our public meeting on February 18th, I believe. And then we had a smaller meeting with the neighboring senior housing facility, which is immediately adjacent to it. Just, it's difficult for some people to really do the Zoom, really bring it in person, show everybody. And this is the project that, we show them the CDR, design, just to get some feedback from them and inform them about it. And then, of course, the numerous meetings that we had with the zoning committee. I think it's been a very fruitful and positive process in that they gave us a lot of feedback. We've incorporated it. I mean, I know that our city planning reviewer, if you look at the original zoning plans versus what you're seeing here, it's almost a completely different project. We had these arches that were, that really kind of like took over a lot of the look, and that was completely removed. It has now, as I go through the project, I'll, be able to do it. But the first floor you see here is actually the commercial space, and we have an 8-foot setback to create a widened walkway. And then the 2 floors above, which is where these arches were, were converted into a brick, facade. And then those are openings that go into a parking. We would do like a metal screening that would take place over there. So you don't see, a parking garage per se. It adds a nice finish, but it almost makes it look a little bit more like apartments. It doesn't have that industrial look. I think the arches really just were like too much in your face. So we've made a lot of changes on that, and I'll start to articulate it. But I think it's important to talk about a juxtaposition between the prior project and the project that we have here. I think one concern was the height of the building, especially at the rear. So this project is located on East Falls on Merrick Road that you see here. There's a pretty dramatic slope. If you're looking at the upper left-hand corner, you see this view from Ridge Avenue, which is pretty level, and then Merrick Road has a very dramatic rise to it as you go back up the hill. And so what we did was we were able to, I want to show it. It kind of shows it here. You see how this all kind of rises up. There are actually houses that sit behind there. And the prior project was going to build right up onto its property line. There's actually an existing retaining wall that was there that they would remove. And there's a lot of trees that are all in the back over there, which you can kind of see along in this view, right? So instead of us doing what they did, which was build right up onto the property line or remove that retaining wall, disturb even more of the steep slopes, and then get rid of all those trees, we actually set the building back 20 to 30 feet along that side. We preserve the existing retaining wall. We preserve all the existing trees that are in that location. And the height of the building is actually 20 feet shorter. So we went shorter in height at the rear, and we pulled the building back further away from it. We added, and so I think that's like a major component. I think that was a major issue that was from the prior project. And then, of course, we tried to soften up and do a lot of articulation and whatnot in the facade. I think a big thing for us in talking with the Civic group was really making it a walkable and approachable retail space. I know there's some, difficulties with retail in that location. And I think by creating that 8-foot setback along the sidewalk area, you can put, outdoor, seating and for like a restaurant or anything. It just makes it walkable, more of a promenade, really enhance, the features of that area. Because that's really the end. So when you go to East Falls after that, you're heading over to 76. So, so let me go. I want to talk about any of the major features. Yeah, so this is the proposed site of the location. This is its proximity that, based on feedback that we received from our pre-CDR meeting about, show its connectivity to, SEPTA and local transit, show its access to the Schuylkill River Trail. Obviously, you're right there by Kelly Drive. There's a lot of, runners, a lot of bikers, a lot of, so we want to show that, we're really in the proximity. And then really as far as like context for this site, I mean, this is a CMX3 zone property, right? So this is meant for very high density. Obviously this building could be a lot bigger. And the only thing that really triggered it, and going back to what Rich was saying, is if you look along here, right along here, this is where all the steep slopes were located. We originally proposed a curb cut on Ridge Avenue, which wouldn't disturb any steep slopes. And the streets department wasn't too happy about it. We had a scoping meeting with them involving PennDOT as well. And they said, really, we'd prefer you to have it up here. And that's actually what the prior developer had put together. Obviously, they had the same conversation. We didn't know about their conversations, but they said, do it up there. And it just made sense because really you were only going to be able to make a right turn coming out onto Ridge Avenue. And that really takes you to no man's land. If you're really trying to go left and go south, you have to, it's a very circuitous route. So Merrick Road has its own traffic light that is located over there, which helps control the traffic. We pushed it up, the driveway up. And what we did, and a major component to this, is there are 2 loading docks that are here. The intention here, and you see there's this circulation, sorry, it keeps changing, this circulation that kind of takes place. What we want to do is we want to limit as much, traffic that's coming in onto the street. We don't want people double parking. You don't want, so we have a pickup, drop on, drop in, drop off. The width of this area is enough for 2 cars. So one person can pull up to the site and they can drop somebody off or drop off packages, and somebody else can, take an Uber, drop off, and then circulate out as well. And then of course it can continue into the building. So, and then the loading zones for people that are moving in, commercial deliveries, trash pickup. The idea is one loading dock obviously will be, is the upper one is closer to like our commercial trash. And then the other one is for the deliveries that we would have coming in, you know, for UPS, FedEx, and things like that. But the point is that we understand and appreciate that it's a larger project. We want to be able to manage the traffic as best as possible. We're utilizing the traffic light that is at Merrick Road. We're pulling everybody off of the street and into the site as much as we can. And then another notable part of it is a 217 car parking. The prior project had a lot of outdoor and surface parking. This is all covered parking. We try to utilize as much of the green space as possible. Like I said, we want to preserve all of the trees at the rear. We want to maintain, we have an open courtyard that is meant for residents to be able to walk through. And then as part of, you know, communication with the community, we talked about this northern end that you see down here at the bottom as being part of the, like an amenity that we would be offering, that we build as an open park to the area. So this is our landscape. This is a little bit, I'm speaking for Lance. Lance didn't do the landscape design, so I want to speak to that a little bit. But to give you a feel of, we really want to create this natural setting that really fits into the area. And you're going to see we have the white, you know, the bike racks that we have located over here. This is the raised walkway that we're talking about. So this would be a part of the public area that would be utilized. You know, lots of nice soft touches and feels, really add a lot of landscaping and soften, you know, the design. So I did want to touch on that, but now I will let Lance speak to the design of the building.
No problem. I'll just run through it real quick. Yeah, so Eric kind of covered a lot of what we're going to be talking about, but I just wanted to point out a big part of what we are trying to do is reduce kind of the perceived massing of the building. You know, we've got this donut-shaped building, and a lot of what we were trying to do was make it feel like two buildings, break it up a little bit, and then kind of cut the massing down, especially on Ridge Avenue. You know, the previous design that Eric had mentioned had these large arches and was very inhospitable to the pedestrian kind of point of view. So what we wanted to do is, as Eric mentioned, set back the commercial on the ground floor to create a more generous pedestrian walkway. As we know, Ridge Avenue, it's trafficked, people go fast on it. So having people back off the street a little bit is very helpful. Secondly, we also set back the top floor, reducing some of the unit count as well, and create a little bit more of a relief of the building from the Ridge Avenue side of things. And then lastly, I'll just mention, you know, a big part of what we wanted to do was material selection. So the back side, the hilltop side, we went with a wood look cladding, which will kind of feel a bit more natural and blend into the rest of the environment, the landscaping that's around it. And then on the Ridge Avenue side, giving a little bit more nod to the context of buildings that surround it, going with that sort of Kelly brick on the ground floor plane, and kind of creating this implied structural grid over the entire facade that we break up with these different colors, digitize the facade a little bit and break up the perceived kind of massing of it from Ridge Avenue. Yeah, that's okay.
Sure.
Perfect.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Have our staff review now, yes?
Yes.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Liz Fuselier with the planner with the Philadelphia City Planning Commission. This proposal is contained within a 1.88 acre parcel in the CMX3 zone district. No bonuses are proposed, but a steep slopes refusal has been issued. 260 residential units with 217 car parking and 96 bike spaces have been proposed. A community meeting with the East Falls Community Council occurred in mid-February. This proposal is in a transit-rich area with numerous bus, train, bike, and pedestrian options available in the community. The street trees and fronting the proposed building on Ridge Avenue are appreciated by staff. Due to the adjacent parks and trail networks, please consider adding bike racks along Ridge Avenue and Merrick Road. Staff encourages the commercial use proposed at the prominent corner of Merrick and Ridge. Daylighting the ground floor windows will add to the strong street presence. The blank brick wall along Merrick could benefit from additional visual interest. Consider a mural to activate that pedestrian-friendly section. The expansive green roof and rooftop amenity are greatly appreciated. Consider adding landscaping along the roof line to soften the safety railings. Please consider adding a mural or some kind of decorative color or brick to the entrance wall along Merrick Road. Staff appreciates the use of balcony space as an amenity while adding visual interest to the east-facing elevation. And we also appreciate the extensive landscaping serving as an added buffer to the adjacent development. The deck parking is appreciated, but staff asks for a greater number of EV designated spaces be added to the existing proposal. And for ease, the bike room may be better situated closer to the main entrance. The proposal meets 8 of 12 applicable metrics. Consider adding solar panels to offset energy costs for residents and the overall building. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And with that, do we have any public, members of the public that'd like to speak? No, nothing in the Zoom, nothing here. Okay, Hillary, may I ask you to express any testimony that you might have, or do you have any comments, questions?
This is a very important site for us in East Falls. It's the last remaining CMX3 site. We feel that if it's a good design, a good building, then it can really help us revitalize what has been a fairly unsuccessful. Okay, sorry.
Thank you.
Shall I repeat that?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so this is the last CMX3 site in East Falls available for redevelopment. It's critical that this is a well-designed building so it can contribute to our revitalization of our commercial strip. Everything after this building will just be CMX 2.5 small-scale redevelopments within the commercial district. The adjacency to the river, it's important that this building acknowledges its site next to the river. It's not landlocked. It looks at trees across the valley, trees in the back, and there's a river half a block beyond. So this has a chance to really make a difference for East Falls. Briefly, in our neighborhood meetings, the feedback to date has been about traffic and congestion. They're worried that folks are going to be parking on the streets. Where are people going to be parking who would go to a business once this is occupied? These are valid concerns, but CMX3 doesn't necessarily address within the zoning guidelines traffic and traffic congestion. CMX3 wants to add people to revitalize and create a demand on in commercial areas. So just running through the sections, purpose, and so on. Purpose, we find this building conforms to all the criteria of purpose. It's in a CMX3 district. It will never be able to match CMX 2.5 scale of buildings. Site design, but in the spirit of that, we'd ask them if they could reduce the height of the building so they comply by setting back the 8th floor. And I think with the canopy that runs along retail, that we'll actually get a building that's fairly well scaled to Ridge Avenue, especially as we're two blocks away from the 2 3-story buildings on Ridge. The site design, yes, they built on the steep slope, and you understand why. However, the green roofs, the balance of the open spaces has created a fairly adequate stormwater management scenario. So we've lost a steep slope, but we've retained many of the abilities of steep slope to manage stormwater. All parking is inside the building. They've far exceeded their parking requirement. So we hope that the impact on the local streets will be as small as possible, and that in supporting retail, that actually they've agreed to look into the possibility of accommodating some parking for retail inside the building, which would give them a better chance, I think, of renting and leasing this space, which the community would really love to see. Satisfaction of building design. We've really not had any feedback from the community on this. So our zoning committee, which is 17 strong, has been interacting with them since January. And Eric has, explained the number of changes that you've seen here, and even up to yesterday, which I don't think you're seeing some of the latest incorporations here. But they've been very great to work with and have acted immediately upon some suggestions. So that is about it. We, in comparison to the scheme that came through here 3 or 4 years ago, this project is 10 times better. We have street frontage. We don't have open parking lots. We don't have a 9-story building in rear completely obscuring views from Hilltop. That would be the summation of my comments.
Thank you very much. I'm going to open it up to the committee members for any questions.
I had a couple questions. You mentioned the 8-foot setback along Ridge Avenue. I was just curious what the dimension is between the edge of the building and the curb. There are dimensions, I think, on the plans, but they're just teeny. It would be awesome to have seen just a section cut through the sidewalk there. And I appreciate you mentioning that setback, but that's my first question. My second question is, I believe, I just want to confirm that the site plans are accurate with the number of street trees that there's a discrepancy between the renderings and the plans, which only show 4 trees. I'm assuming the site plans are correct. And then finally, if you look at the aerial view, I was just curious, I had a couple questions.
Sarah, is this one you want?
No, the aerial view. Yeah, that's good. In the aerial view, you can see cars on the left-hand side, sort of adjacent to the landscape area. I'm just curious, is that parking or is that a traffic lane? Awesome. And does that parking continue along the front of the building? Okay. And then I was just also curious about the setback of the adjacent, it looks like maybe townhomes. Just, if you knew what that setback was from Ridge Avenue.
Do you mean the setback from on Merrick?
Yeah, the senior, yes, I guess it's senior housing. Yeah, just sort of, you mentioned the 8-foot setback from the curb. I'm just curious, as a point of comparison, what the setback is from the property across the street.
I believe, is Shane in the Zoom? Shane's my civil engineer and he's my dimension guru, so it's hard for me to look at it, but he has it. But if you look, the senior home facility is actually across the median, so it's pretty far. I mean, you got, because they have parking up along Merrick Road that's closest to our building, and then you have the median, and then you have another lane. So it's pretty far away. It's not that close to the building.
Totally, but you don't know what the setback is.
If Shane was on, Shane is texting me now. 13 feet is the sidewalk, and then I guess Shane is texting me that, is it 20 feet? Yes, 20 feet from the building to across the other way, the other side of the street.
Great.
Are they there?
Shane, you can.
Yes, sorry.
begin talking if you want.
The senior living facility is set back an additional 20 feet from the sidewalk along Ridge Avenue.
I mean, he conferred 13 feet for the sidewalk and then 20 feet is the distance from our building to the
Cool.
facility across the street.
I mean, I would say, I really like the landscape palette and, some of the precedent imagery and the material selection. I think that's really nice and strong. When I first saw some of these images, my reaction to the Ridge Avenue edge was not that it would be one that would be inviting. And in fact, my reaction was, "Ooh, that sidewalk feels really narrow given the speed of the adjacent traffic and the width of that corridor." And I appreciate you did have an additional 8 feet of setback. But I would encourage you to, and granted, there is parking along that street, but I would and so when people park and get out of the cars, they want to walk onto the sidewalk, but I would really encourage you to look at if there's additional landscape features that could be incorporated as you have in other areas around the site along the edge of that sidewalk, because Ridge is a really uncomfortable road to hang out. And if there is any idea about retail and restaurants or cafes that have outdoor seating, nobody's going to want to sit there unless they have some sort of buffer and protection. So I would consider you to, push that back even further if you think that's possible, but also look at some means of protection. And granted, the senior center is, across the street and it is a long crossing, but there's still something really nice about neighborhood continuity when the setbacks are similar. And the fact that that has a larger setback, I think would be just something to think about from the perspective of really making a much better public realm experience for people.
Excuse me, can I speak to that?
Yes.
So the plaza, the 20-foot plaza at the bank is elevated and deserted. It's not maintained. It has weeds in it. And the landscape buffer between the steps has dead trees in it. The low plants are maintained. This proposal here aligns with the balance of the buildings on Ridge Avenue, which is something our zoning committee wanted to perpetuate that alignment, because the senior building is somewhat of an anomaly. There's a plaza which sadly has never been used. The retail there has been 50% occupied since it was built in about 2003. So we're looking at a couple of decades of vacancy there. So we'd rather not see the plaza acknowledged. We think that the 8-foot setback underneath the face of the building will provide so much possibility for seated retail.
I would just say, I know it's in planning phase and you probably don't know how many tenants you're gonna have. There's no doors rendered or noted on the plan, but I think you would benefit by, in your renderings, showing some life there because it does feel very compressed. Typically, I would see a retail level taller than its comparative residential levels. When I first saw that, I thought, maybe it's a dentist, maybe it's office space, but right now it doesn't feel like retail or cafe space or restaurant space. And so I did wonder what was envisioned there. And that it's just hard to envision it the way it's rendered now. And it feels very tight. So I don't know what the height actually is, or if it's just a result of the rendering, but right now it feels crunched.
Yeah, I mean, we develop retail edges and public realm in cities all over the country, and that setback is not adequate for a lively environment that you're suggesting. And with no buffer along a major road, I just don't even see how that would be somewhere anybody would really want to hang out.
Yeah, I think for,
Oh,
it's about 14 feet in height. I think there's a lot of constraints here. It's like we want to be mindful about, because this is the tallest portion of the building is the Ridge Avenue because of the way the site slopes. Then you also have 2 levels of parking that fly above it. So there is some movement in the slab, so to speak, because it's ramping as you go up and around. But if I were to do that, then I'd make the tallest portion of the building even taller. And, a lot of the feedback was it's in an, overbearing building, like, how do you make it smaller? So we really where we sacrificed was a lot at the back. We didn't want to do what the prior project did, which was make it really tall at the back and then really block everyone's view. And then we did the setback on the top floor right there on Ridge Avenue, adding those balconies to really step it back. So, and with parking being above the commercial, that makes it a lot tougher. But it also ironically, it actually helps us a little bit with the finished ceiling heights though there. So I think we did good. We did as well as we could considering those factors.
Is there an opportunity at the corner? I didn't realize you had parking right above.
Yeah, that's
Um, But if there were an opportunity to embolden the corner in some way to signify that the retail is there, I think that would help the feeling.
Yeah, I think that's a possibility. I mean, really, that's where the ramp takes place. So you're looking at this is Merrick Road, right at the end of where the imagery that you see is that's where the driveway is. So you're ramping up to the floor. So I think there's an opportunity there. I'd have to review it with my civil engineer. He's very, Shane is on the call, but we have to get into the meat and potatoes of there. But for sure, I think there's an opportunity because that's the ramp up at that corner. Then you turn and circulate through into the building. But I understand what you're saying. Really make it a prominent corner that grabs the eye as you're driving down the road.
Could you tell me what happens in the courtyard space?
Yeah, I mean, it's meant to be open green space. I mean, part of the, stormwater management, we wanted to disturb as little area as possible. So obviously we have the green roof that manages, a lot of the stormwater, but then we wanted to have open green space that people are able to see into the courtyard. So it's really meant to be, if you go to the landscape, design, there's like a little layout that kind of shows it, but it's, it's meant to be a walkable traverse area, put some park benches and have people go through it. Same thing, like you can see the pathways, it's highlighted number 4, the raised wood walkway through the woodland courtyard gardens, and that all kind of like continues through. So it's, meant to be a nice little, a place to walk.
Has that been designed, or is this simply for us to understand that there are possibilities that could be there? Like,
No.
what's the intention for that space?
Yeah, no, that's the intention. That's a landscape architect who put together these plans. I mean, it's, conceptual for CDR, but he's been engaged to put together the whole design. But these are that's the thought and feel, is that you have these walkways and, with the boulders and things that accent and feel, but we want it to be a traversable path. So there's intentional paths in the space.
So I think here's an opportunity to not only engage the commercial space that might front that as well, but how it connects to the other side of the site, particularly the naturalistic landscape. We're talking about the pedestrian experience and pathway along Ridge Avenue. I think there might be, and again, I know there's issues about the slope, there might be a missed opportunity to really activate that naturalistic landscape space to help with the pedestrian traffic and activity along Ridge. And your building gives the perfect opportunity to really enliven that strip somewhat and transverse people through the courtyard gardens and almost make it another pedestrian way to get to the rest of the city, I'll say, even in that sense. I think it would serve the project and the community a bit if you might take a look at that and see what the possibilities are.
Yeah, because I know it looks weird on this drawing, like it's almost like bifurcated, like it's cut off, but there actually is a connection point between that woodland courtyard because remember, it's the ramping of the parking lot and the way the slopes happen. So it's actually a connected piece. So the building kind of flies above that area and you're able to traverse between the two.
And again, I think I see the intent, but the real kind of like impression of the design and feeling it as a space, I think is missing. And could be added to give the project just more power. There was a rendering that shows a small 1.5-story building that doesn't always show up in the other renderings. What is that building or piece?
Yeah, so there's an overlay that we had missed for during when we went through the zoning approval process. That was brought to our attention that there's a certain percentage of frontage that's required on Ridge Avenue in East Falls. So we added this component. That's correct.
Small.
Yeah, this little component
Okay,
here.
and
So
what is it programmatically, or why is it needed? I'm sorry, I missed that.
there's an overlay in East Falls. I mean, Hillary can speak to it better than me, but I mean, Hillary's the one that brought it to my attention. So this was missed by the plan examiner and by us. And there's a certain amount of frontage that needs to take place on Ridge Avenue. And instead of adding so much more square footage and we just said, we'll make this, part of the commercial space, like more of an amenity space that would be for the building, and not try to make, increase so much square footage on it, but also be in compliance with the overlay.
Okay, I think again, in terms of what we've been talking about, the whole retail component, that's a missed opportunity as well. And you might want to take advantage of that, maybe to introduce yourself to the naturalistic landscape, pull it back, set it back, however that might work. I just think when you're looking at everything else and how the building is composed, that's the one odd part that
Well,
it feels, as you said, added on.
it's a really tough one because as you see, it's not doing it justice in the rendering. There is a gigantic 76 sign that is
Yeah, I was
covered in
about to ask
reeds.
about that too.
So I can't really move that. So I'm almost interacting with it. There's a reason why I didn't build the building all the way out there. So
Mhm.
it's like we're trying to, and we're required to be up on the front, like on Ridge Avenue. Like I'm not allowed to really push it back. So I'm just kind of working around it. It's an unfortunate,
All right, it's a challenge.
Yeah, no, but I want to piggyback on that a little bit, Michael, because it goes back to like maybe you don't have the width or the depth to create that kind of pedestrianscape, but certainly we have to find a way to activate that ground plane, or else it's just going to remain like this dark thing. So could that be a gym? Could that be
Oh,
a
yeah,
like
that's the
an
intention,
amenity?
is like it's
But
an
then
amenity. I mean, I could do all glass there like
I
that.
think
Yeah.
I think it would benefit from being like a piece where you see activity and movement
Sure.
through. So
Yeah, yeah.
right now it just looks like maybe you're storing like
I
stuff to
thought it- yeah.
maintain, but instead like if you
In fairness, I got to this a little bit late in the
That's
game,
that's
and then we were
okay.
like, uh-oh, I want to make sure we're in compliance and we're doing everything correctly. But
Understood.
yeah, I'm with you. I mean, we could do all glass. I mean, the commercial is pretty much all glass. Like you don't really see a knee wall or anything.
Yeah, what I struggle with the commercial, in addition to the height, is it doesn't look tempting to a commercial tenant. And
Mhm.
so how are you going to fill it? So that's why we were wondering, could you increase the height at the corner? Or maybe it's about pulling out an awning and starting to show, is there opportunities for signage? Will signage be allowed? Like start to give us an idea of what, and probably for you in order to get tenants, it just doesn't look inviting, and we're afraid, I think, collectively that it's gonna
Yeah.
stay a dark ground plane. And
Mm.
as a gentleman here said, like, it's a huge opportunity, this building, to bring it, to be an anchor point. And I know there's a big sign, 76 sign, but maybe that is a fine place for a restaurant to be.
Well, I would hope the
Call
restaurant
it
is,
76.
yeah, no.
76.
I would hope the restaurant is at the other corner, but like, no, there would be, it's not shown here, but there would be lighting that would all be underneath the canopy. It would really like kind
So-
of pronounce and bring it to life.
Yeah, I also think too, like, it could be maybe 2 stories in terms of the massing. It just doesn't feel right at that point. But another thing I want to mention, and I hope this starts to, as more people come before us and present, we oftentimes need to feel like we're in the space and what's happening is happening. So when you're picking your renderings and your perspectives, imagine yourself in that space and how we might see it. I think that would communicate the ideas a bit better. For instance, if we're under that canopy and we're feeling that 8 feet, what does that look and feel like? If that's really an important part of your design, how do you convey to us what's working and how it's working? And I point to this rendering as well, because even though the intention is great, I think it doesn't do you justice in terms of the ideas and the intent that you're looking for, which brings about these comments. I think that's all I have.
I agree, Michael. My comment was gonna be, I feel like your drawings are not selling the experience, but they're also not communicating enough about the context. Like the site sections want to expand a little bit so we can understand what the impact of the building is on the neighbors to the north, for example. I can't quite understand if their view is blocked by the building or if the building is not, is short enough because of the slope that it's not blocking their view. And then again, like some of the context across Ridge Avenue is difficult to understand because the views are zoomed in far enough that we're not getting the context, but not quite close enough to understand the experience of a pedestrian interacting with the building.
Do you know how geek my colleague Sarah would be if you did perspectives of that interior courtyard and really showed the activity and the landscape and like how it really does take the opportunity to possibly connect the community with the building as well? And I think the elements are there, but again, I think what you're hearing is that we're not seeing the intention. If it's decided that you come back, I think those are some things that you should really take notice of and possibly make an attempt to convey.
I had just one final comment. I think if I had two sort of critiques of the scheme, and so many things I think I really like about it, in particular that materiality and sort of the landscape quality and character. One is just sort of the edge along Ridge Avenue, but the second is the massing. And you know, to me, that aerial image was great. To me, it feels a little bit monotonous. Materially, you know, I think what you've done with the wooden piece and sort of the brick and other piece, that's great to break it down. But it is the same height everywhere. And that facade is, you know, there's no relief. There's no balcony. There is a setback at the very top, but I just question if you're even going to register that at all. And you know, it's interesting, you mentioned sort of flattening the building as something you intentionally did so that people's views would not be blocked. And I think that reminded me, Clarissa, when you were saying it'd be really helpful to actually see a section to understand are people's views being blocked or not. When you look at this image, it's really hard to even see, you know, if anybody has views from, maybe I don't know, the neighbors in the townhouses up there, are they catching views of the river or are they just looking out at trees? And if that is the case, if the building was flattened to preserve views that maybe don't exist, I would advocate for actually differentiating the heights and going taller in the back and shorter in the front, because that's just going to give a little bit more relief for a pedestrian walking on Ridge Avenue. But
If I could say, they would be really upset if I did that. So
okay,
that's
definitely
why.
respect the neighbors.
Yeah,
But
so that's why we preserve the trees. Now, I do have a section that I had, you know, emailed to kind of clarify this, you know, prior, but there's like the cartoon rendering that kind of shows the sloping of the site, if you go through, but essentially, which, you know, shows you where the levels, if you keep going. But yeah, the long story short is that the trees really do act as the screening, but the top end height of the building that you see here is about even with the top of the second floor of the houses that sit behind it, right? And then the trees rise up right around that height as well. So we're all kind of even. If I go any higher than that, for sure you see the building, you know, and that's going to be a part of their view. So what I'm saying is that the trees provide the screening and you don't, and you're kind of like even right there, the tree and the height.
I see. So you're not protecting their view shed of the larger landscape or the river. You're keeping the building out of view. Okay.
Correct. So yeah, we have another section that I did, which kind of shows you, no, go back. No, where you were was perfect. Anyway, you did the slope at the rear and then we did a little rendering of the houses to give context, but that's the answer.
Can I add something there? they did puncture the facade with some added recessed balconies, which I don't think you see here.
Okay.
Well, you
Additional
don't.
ones.
Additional, about 9 or 10.
Which goes along the lines of what you were just talking
Right.
about, which was like kind of create some articulation and juxtaposition. So it's not just the Juliet balconies that give a feel. We have like fully set back in, like full height, floor to ceiling of these balconies and in random locations too, right? So it's not all stacked on top of each other and it really gives that break up, to the facade.
Yeah, I have a couple comments, I guess, and some questions. I think this is a successful project, and one thing right off the bat I'll say is when we hear the RCO say it was great to work with this developer, that's kind of music to our ears. We don't hear that every time. So that's great. Thank you for being so responsive. Let me start with this. I'm really perplexed by this pass-through on, is it Merrick Avenue? Is that what it's called?
Merrick Road.
Merrick Road. The Merrick Road into the courtyard. And the different drawings are not clear about what that experience is like. So it's hard to see the level of amenity that that's really going to provide. So this drawing is not obvious that there's any pass-through. It looks like a drop-off and entrance to the building and entrance to a garage, which is fine. We all acknowledge this is probably the right place. So I don't know. I don't know I don't have any advice, but I will say a couple things. One is you really got to drill down on this portion because every move being made is rational, right? You got a good architecture team, you got the right intent, you got good advice from the city and the traffic folks and the planning department. So I would really drill down on the pedestrian experience at this entry because it looks like it's dominated by the vehicular exigencies. You need to get the cars in. You want 2 lanes, so exactly like you said, Uber drop off and food drop off and all that stuff. But the component that looks shortchanged is pedestrian. And then the second thing is, if you're really welcoming people into the wooded courtyard, it's not evident from here. It might be evident once it's built, but I kind of doubt it. It looks like it's going to be a long and deep overhung or tunnel experience. And I just don't know. There reaches a point where maybe that good idea ceases to be a real amenity, and it's just in a visual courtyard that you don't have a connection on both sides. So these are the things.
There's no connection from Merrick Road to the courtyard.
What is that then? It's very
That's
confusing.
kind of
What is
showing you
that?
the driveway ramp.
Okay.
That little
Oh, is
like
that
hashing.
cut?
So it's really,
Yeah, there's a
yeah.
lot of, okay. So
You're
one of
talking
the
about
other images has,
disconnected. I think they're saying there's just like a section cut.
Okay.
To
Yeah.
say like the ramp keeps going up,
That's
right?
right.
That's-
Okay, yeah,
It
you
looked
don't-
like there was a pathway. Yeah,
oh,
it's not.
right. Okay. So
It was very confusing.
it looks like maybe some geotech
Right.
exposition here. Looks like there's paving patterns that are going through. Okay.
No.
Okay, so the courtyard is just a visual amenity for the residents, and it's not really a community amenity.
Well, from the natural, where it says naturalistic landscape, that'll be
You-
all open.
You
And
can,
then there is a pass through from there into the woodland courtyard gardens.
yeah, but it's unlikely a lot of people are gonna use it from the public side, because there's no place to go, and you're just kind of peeking into people's
Well, you
windows.
could access it from, from the, lobby level that you have over here as well. So up on the northern,
Oh,
like,
no, yeah. Okay.
yeah. So
All right.
point is that you would be accessing it from inside the building. There would be a door that gets you
Right.
access to, but you're not, it's definitely not coming off Merrick Road.
Okay,
And then the intention is the access for the public is through the naturalistic landscape area.
okay. Well, that leads me to another point, which I'm not quite sure about, because it's hard to read. So, one of the key experiences you have as an apartment renter or condo owner or whatever it's going to be is your experience to the ground. And it's pretty clear what's going on Ridge, right? You're in an apartment, you're 3 stories up, and you have a visual connection to the river and everything. on the north side of the building and in the courtyard, there's a lot of different ways it can work, but it's not clear what's going on. Are you 2 feet above the grass? Are you 10 feet above the grass? You know, is it something that feels right in terms of privacy and aspect looking out, or is it, you know, you don't want to be on a place where you have a balcony and then, you know, you're at eye level with someone who happens to be walking in the courtyard. So it's just since it's not represented in these drawings, you know, it's going to have to be solved, or maybe it is solved, but just be very attentive to the relationship between the apartments and the courtyard in terms of issues like privacy and relationship.
Remember, the parking garage, so the first couple of levels is
It's
the
all
parking
parking.
garage, that's right.
Okay.
There are
so
no
every-
residential.
Every time you're like 10 feet or more above. Okay.
That's on the ridge side, but how about on the rear side? Also true?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
okay. I'll
okay.
put in.
And on the north side as well. Like,
So,
there's no walkway on the north side.
The light blue.
The section through the building describes it pretty well. So yeah,
This
the
one
light blue
is
is
the parking.
parking.
Okay.
The darker blue is the residential units and the
Okay,
red is the
okay.
commercial.
That's fine. All right. One thing, this is a tiny detail, but it may be an important one. On some of the images, you know, we're struggling with this retail relationship to Ridge. And I know from experience, 14 feet is high, but it also looks compressed. So, you know, you're getting feedback on that. One of the things, it looks like there's a step up. You probably want to try and get rid of that, you know, so it's continuous with the sidewalk.
It is. It's a function of
Okay,
the
good.
rendering just being
Okay.
what it is. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yep.
Not a surprise, but excellent. I'm trying to think of all the things I've been thinking about as we've been talking. One of the things that was in the back of my mind is the sustainability agenda. And, you know, the planning commission said, you know, maximize your EV charging spaces. I talk about this every time because I have an EV, so I'm always looking for charging. But also, we really have to kind of take a longer view about sustainability issues in general, because I know we're in many ways in a dark space right now for all sorts of reasons nationally. Oil prices jumped 10% in the last 2 days for obvious reasons. So the incentives, the financial incentives from the federal government are in a nadir in terms of solar and high performance walls and all that type of stuff. But by the time this is built, we're going to have 1 year left in the Trump administration. And so these issues are not erased because people aren't thinking about it. And when I looked at the sustainability checklist, there's a lot of NAs or zeros or something like that. So really, I'm just encouraging, this is a high quality development with a lot of units. So it's really, and you know, the neighbors are saying this is an amenity and they're looking to get a lot out of this. Maybe do as much as you can to follow through with the sustainability agenda on types of, you know, it says Energy Star compliant or Energy Star exceeding, you know, on building envelope equality and performance, wired and, you know, put in as much as you can to make solar on the roof be a natural or easy thing to follow up on as soon as the incentives come back. Those kind of things are going to be important. I have a rental property and I just got the absolute highest electricity bill ever had, even though there's solar on the roof, right? So it was covered in snow. So these things are going to be, this building's going to be here for 40 years, you know, 50 years, 100 years, whatever. These issues are going to be all important, you know, in the next generation. So to keep that in mind.
The only thing I'd say is that we avoid using fossil fuels in our buildings, so it's all electric, so just
Right.
for whatever that's worth. But
It is.
it is with anticipation of opportunity that comes down there. I mean, hopefully the grid one day is actually.
Yeah.
And then, you know, so we're very mindful and deliberate for all our projects to
So
really be.
heat pump, heating systems. Yeah, that's definitely the right way to go. It's just that, yeah, That,
The-
I don't have to say more. It's just,
The trouble for me always with solar, every time I come to Civic Design Review, I have the condensers on the roof, but I'm also putting
Yeah.
them in the garage, in the parking garage as well to minimize it.
right,
But I have a certain requirement for PWD for stormwater management.
right. The green roof.
And then with the condensers, there's no, and then
not
I have
allowed.
like a little roof deck. I mean, you saw relative to it,
Okay.
like that's the maximum allowed to put. So then solar, there's no room for it.
Okay, well,
But it's
So-
all electric.
yeah, we all recognize the importance of this, so I don't want to, I just want to mention it before we close out. All right, I think that's it for me.
Okay,
Thanks.
well, I'll guide us to review the notes unless there's any closing comments. No?
Just one
Yeah.
actually quick question. You don't have a bike share station, but are you providing bike storage or you
Yeah.
are? Okay.
Yeah, so it's right, as soon as you come into the driveway, it's right at the second floor.
This
It's
is the perfect
96.
location for it.
bike
I wasn't
spots.
sure. Okay.
Thank you, Michael. Okay, we'll pull up the notes. Okay, thank you. So I'll read through the notes and then we can agree that we are in agreement with what is stated. So from East Falls Community Council, this is an important site and the last CMX3 site in the area. The zoning doesn't take into account the traffic. This zoning does not take into account the traffic. Okay, let's maybe take that away. The building feels well scaled for Ridge Avenue. I think the note was that the community expressed concern with additional traffic, but there's good amount of parking, and I think that was the complete thought. The green roof and green spaces allow for stormwater management. They exceed the parking requirements, so hopefully will support retail, make sure cars don't need to park in the community. The applicant has listened to suggestions and made changes accordingly. This project is way better than previous iterations. This balanced the alignment of surrounding buildings and it does not acknowledge the adjacent plaza. This balanced the alignment of surrounding buildings. Oh, across the street. Yeah, correct. Okay, balconies were added later on based on community feedback. Are you okay with that? As stated, okay. All right, and then we'll move on. CDR committee, rendering and plans do not match each other, so we had some trouble understanding some components of the proposal. Please clarify the size of the curb cuts and setbacks and label them in the plans. We agree that the landscape palette is strong. The sidewalk feels really narrow on Ridge. Look at additional landscape features that could be incorporated along Ridge. Push the setback further along Ridge so that it's similar to surrounding buildings. There was a discussion we had. There are no door renders, so it's hard to envision the retail space. It feels a little bit squat and does not seem very lively or a place where people will want to hang out. And bold in the corner, that could be one strategy that was suggested. More details about the courtyard space and show the intention. Show how it can engage with commercial space and explore ways to make it a pedestrian way to other areas in the site and the community. I think what we're saying is help us activate, make sure that this is an activated space and that it's not flat for the community. Show more details on the one-story building along Ridge or make it something lively and transparent. It seems like a missed opportunity for activation and a little bit of an afterthought we established it was. Make it an amenity where you can see the activity. There's concern that there would be a dark commercial space otherwise. Add signs, think about the massing and add glass. Add renderings that really communicate the space and the context so that we can see the impact on the communities around it. And the views currently don't show this intention. So that's always helpful. The massing is a bit monotonous. The materials do help to break it up. The size doesn't allow for views, so consider changing the heights on different parts if that was possible. The committee appreciates the applicant being responsive to the community. The path through from Merrick Road is not clear. It actually doesn't exist. So I think we should delete that. Drill down on the pedestrian experience on Merrick Road. The courtyard is just a visual experience for the residents, not open to the community. That was a clarification. So we ask that you're attentive to the courtyard and the residents' interaction with it. We established the first couple of floors are actually parking. Maximize the charging spaces and consider ways to incorporate solar or solar hookups and additional sustainable features. Showcase the bike storage more readily. Do we have a vote to say that the notes are in line with what was discussed? A motion. Yes, I have a motion from Maria and second by Sarah. Great. And now do I have a motion to continue the review or to complete the review? And I need that from my fellow committee members.
I move to continue.
I need a second.
Yeah, I'll second. So we can get a vote.
Have a motion to continue the review and a second to continue the review. Mina, we will take, we need to vote.
Roll the call.
Yeah.
So there's a motion to continue the civic design review process for 4401 Ridge Avenue. Beginning the vote with the RCO representative, Hillary Langer. How do you vote?
I have a question. They have their hearing coming up March 25th. How will the second review, which will occur after potential approval and support for the refusal, interact?
So the CDR review has to be completed before the ZBA can happen. So before this process is concluded, the ZBA will put a continuance on the review.
I'll vote no.
We worked very closely with the community this whole time. I really tried to send as many updates and show. I'm sorry. We've worked very closely with the community up until the point of me sending an email last night at 11 o'clock at night. I want to really demonstrate that. I mean, the feedback you've incorporated, it's not like going on deaf ears. It will be incorporated. I mean, and like I said, 11 o'clock last night, I got a rendering from Lance. Hillary liked it. I sent it back over to you guys so you would have it. It's just, we've been really, really working hard on this, and it's an important date, the March 25th date. And I assure you that we have highlighted the notes. I think the most specific one is really the commercial and the courtyard area that needs to be addressed, which we can take care of.
Mhm.
Oh.
Okay.
I would, but I think I would still vote to continue and understand that there was really an effort made. I hear that in working with the community, and I know that that was done well. Just for me, I haven't seen it. And I think it's part of at least my responsibility to start to have what we see really represent what should be. So that's why I'm probably making more of a comment than I am a vote.
Michael, I just want to understand that, like, so if they were to come back, what would you wish to see that is different, is more images to express or demonstrate what they're envisioning
Exactly,
for the
because
development?
what I'm seeing, I don't understand, and I think part of our responsibility is to really understand how this affects the public realm as well. And it's just too cloudy for me.
So there is a motion to continue. Dan, are you keeping your second?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, and a second, so we need to take a vote.
Sure.
Okay.
So there's a motion to continue, 4401 Ridge Avenue. Hillary, do you support the motion?
No.
Can you speak to the mic? You did not
No.
support the motion. Dan, you seconded.
Yeah, I'll say yes.
Maria, do you support the motion?
No.
Sarah, do you support the motion?
No, but that's because I trust that you will.
Thank you. Clarissa, do you support the motion?
I do not, for the same reason as Sarah.
Michael, you made the motion. You support the motion.
Yes.
Jimena, do you support the motion?
I don't, and for the reasons that is that you have had that constant communication and you do have community support, and for me, that goes a long way.
The motion failed, so we need another motion.
Okay, we're not done yet. Okay, team, another motion.
I motion to pass.
To
Second,
complete.
to complete. I
Second.
motion to.
Okay, and seconded by Sarah. Now we
Okay.
need a vote.
Another roll call. There's a motion to conclude the civic design review process for 4401 Ridge Avenue. Hillary, do you support the motion?
I support that.
Okay, thank you. Dan, do you support the motion?
Yes, I do.
Okay, thank you. Maria, you made the motion.
Yes.
Sarah, you seconded. Clarissa, do you support the motion?
Yes.
Thank you. Michael, do you support the motion?
Yes.
Okay.
I abandoned you. so-
And Jimena,
No, it's all good.
Yes, thank you, Mina.
thank you. Unanimous support
Okay.
for the motion.
Thank you.
Motion
Thank you,
carries.
team. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have a lot of pesky architects on our committee.
Yes, we do.
So,
I don't live far